good weekend. This is Mr. Not Advice. And this is my weekend update, and it is August 30th, 2025, as always. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. I thought this song would be apropos this weekend, since I almost doubled my position in EOSE, and I am long the market despite all the bearish calls this weekend. But we're going to take a look at that. And I've got some other comments also about what's going to happen here in September. We've got a number of events coming up that are going to, I think, affect the overall market. So, all right, as I said, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to listen to this today. Let's take a look here. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. I'm going to go over the individual stocks first that I'm currently in, but I'm going to leave EOSE and Ethereum to the end, because they're going to be a little bit of a longer discussion. Taking a look at the overall markets, Friday was, with the long weekend coming up of Labor Day, we had multiple things. So they call it the summer doldrums, and the reason why they call it that is starting Labor Day or Memorial Day to Labor Day. Typically, what happens on Wall Street is it's vacation time. You're not allowed to go on vacation from September through January. So this is when everyone takes their vacation. So you have volumes that are lower, and we've seen that in the market lately. With volumes that are lower, you also have moves that tend to be a little bit more exaggerated. So I've always looked at the Labor Day weekend and any market action before holidays as that's nice, but I'm not going to believe it until it gets confirmed on Monday, or on Tuesday after we return from vacation. So any of the charts that I go over, I'm going to go through the positions that I'm currently in, but I don't see anything for my trades. I got a couple stick saves, but I really don't see anything, or I'm not going to be able to make final decisions till I see what the market does on Tuesday morning. In addition, 30 minutes after the close on Friday, a federal appeals court ruled against Trump and said that all the tariffs are illegal. I'm generalizing, obviously. But what they didn't do is they did not put in an injunction. They allowed the tariffs to remain in place as this works itself through the courts. This is going to end up before the Supreme Court. The Trump administration knew this. And they've got other ways that they can make sure that these tariffs are enforced. However, we now know why the Japanese trade delegation canceled their meeting. They were supposed to meet with the White House on Friday. Now we know why they didn't, because they knew this was coming. So I think that we have to wait and see. First, let's talk about this whole issue of tariffs and the courts. For those of you that are thinking that Trump is being tyrannical and overstepping his power, he's not. And I want to give you some examples. We talk about the vitriol, we talk about the anger from both sides and how it's never been at these record levels, and we've never had a president that has just damaged civil liberties like this. Well, yes, we have. We've had many presidents that have done this before. One of them was Abraham Lincoln, who suspended habeas corpus, but he also he shut down newspapers, he locked up newspaper editors. In addition, I find it ironic that, and this is a political commentary, but it is relevant in the context of, it's important to take our financial news that we get and understand who is giving it to us. What's the source? Because there is not a tremendous amount of support behind Trump in the mainstream media, nor any of his policies. That we know this. Another example that I hear a lot about Trump is that, and this is relevant in the context of any information you get out there, but especially political or financial. But I hear this comment that Trump is sending troops into these cities. How can he do that? That's what a king does, and that's what a tyrant does. Well, Dwight Eisenhower did that, and he was a Democrat, and it was during the Watts riots in L.A., and it was a shoot-on-sight command that he gave, and 11 people were shot. So to restore order in cities and to restore the rule of law. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Donald Trump thing. It's not a Democrat thing. It's an everything thing, and it has been done before. So I think it's important, if we let's continue that line of thinking. I believe it's just as important to temper any of the news coming out of the so-called financial experts, because let's not forget that these financial experts have consistently been wrong, right? Aren't we supposed to be in the depression right now because of the tariffs? Isn't every country supposed to have turned their back on us, and we're supposed to be paying $25 a gallon for gas and $40 for eggs and eating cats? We're not, all right? So I am looking at the data, right? Let me go back to some of the charts here. SPX, SPX, all these charts are going to look the same, okay? They're all going to look like they're topping. We don't know if it's a top yet. Until we get normal volumes in the market, last week was a big fat nothing to me, right? Looking at the Qs still haven't broken out and retaken and reclaimed that high. There's plenty of room to the top side that remains. Small cap market, Russell 2000, right? Russell 2000 still moving up. Yeah, it was a down day. And yes, on Twitter throughout the weekend now, I've already seen just, September's bear case, the market's going to crash. The court ruled against Trump with the tariffs. Let me speak back to that. I apologize. Trump has a couple choices here. He can just say, I don't care what the federal court says. I'm going to do what I want. That's not tyrannical, because many presidents have done that. Okay? Abraham Lincoln, again, did that. Now, we can look at that and say, well, yeah, but that was during the Civil War. And actually, that was prior to the Civil War. So, because he was also in a re-election year that year. So he was very concerned about what was being communicated. And he was trying to raise an army. So anyway, enough of the history. Looking at if the Russell 2000, the small cap market, if it continues to go, that is the dash for trash. That's going to put a cushion or a natural or a escalator, inflator on any small cap stock on up days. And it's going to put pressure on any small cap stock on down days. Now, what I'm finding interesting is that with EOSE is that on the down days, it recovers and it still closes down. But on the up days, lately, it's been moving more. It's been holding its gains. So I will speak about it, but I do believe, and I made that decision this past week, that I needed to almost double my position in EOSE, because I do think we've got some binary events that are coming up that could be catalysts for the share price. However, back to the overall market, we could get a sell-off on Monday. Certainly the Twitter sphere thinks that's going to happen. And I'm seeing more of these crash calls. I don't know. If it happens, it happens, and I'll trade through it like I always have. So I don't know, because I have to wait and see what the market does when we open. I do want to make a note of this, by the way. This is the M2 money supply, and as long as there is more money being put into the financial system, this is August 4th, okay? As long as there's more money being put into the financial system, the market's going to continue to go up. Ethereum, Bitcoin, they're going to continue to go up. Yes, I know the seasonality and all. Is it different this time with Ethereum and Bitcoin? I don't know. Or Bitcoin, I don't know. But what I'm pointing to is these are structural. This is a structural occurrence that there is no doubt will push assets higher. Period. End of story. Does it happen overnight? No. Okay? But this is something that gives me confidence, understanding how this works, the mechanism of it, that gives me confidence to be in my largest exposure in years since COVID, actually. I'm at, I think, 75% right now. And EOSE and Ethereum make a good portion of that. So as long as I see this M2 money supply continue to move up, the the way you want to think about it is that the government's putting money into the system. Uh, Either that money is used for, expansion of companies, buying stuff, or it's going to be go into risk assets, and that's what it always finds its way into. And so this is basic supply and demand, people. The demand for stocks is going to continue to increase because of the supply of money is increasing, and that's going to continue to push asset prices higher. All right. Speaking specifically about Ethereum, that is also that's very structural to me. Meaning, I think what's going on right now with Ethereum is, well, I know we have what they call OG wallets. So wallets that Bitcoin wallets that existed when Bitcoin was first launched. We are seeing last week huge billion-dollar trades where they are selling their Bitcoin and going into the spot market for Ethereum. So they're just going into the open market and buying billions of dollars of Ethereum, right? We know that there are big names behind Ethereum. We saw the Vanguard CEO out today saying on CNBC that financial institutions are going to build their financial systems on the back of the Ethereum blockchain. So Bitcoin was the king. It was, and Ethereum was always the bastard stepchild. But, Tom Lee makes a great point that institutions are looking for something different than just speed. They're looking for uptime, and Ethereum has had 100% uptime. So I'm very, bullish Ethereum. I've gone out to leaps, so I have plenty of time on it. I do understand that, everyone's expecting Ethereum to sell off and Bitcoin to sell off in September, and then we get into the fourth quarter and all of that. Maybe that'll happen. I think that anybody who thinks that Ethereum is going to go back down to, below $3,000, I don't think that's going to be happening. There's just too much structural demand for it right now. That leads me into BMNR. What I'm going to do with what I think is going on with BMNR, the institutions are buying it. We know Cathie Woods is buying other institutions. It's bouncing right at the 50. We need this thing to bounce. But what I think could happen on BMNR is we could go as low as 30. I don't think it will get that low. First one will be $40. And institutions can, on any given day, they can short Ethereum and buy BMNR and have Ethereum exposure, or they can short Ethereum, BMNR and buy Ethereum. And that's what I think they're doing. Okay, they're doing an arbitrage. I think ultimately what's happening is that BMNR is being accumulated by institutions. In addition, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday was the 30-day. It was the second part of the pipe offering. 50%, the second 50% of those shares became available to sell, and I think that was that sell pressure that we saw. That will be done when we open on Tuesday. Yes, I'm aware that people are expecting there to be a downturn in the coins, and I happen to be, positioned at my max position on them. Well, I will add to BMNR. I've allocated dollars for that, but that's a different type of trade. Ultimately, though, with the cash going or the money supply continuing to grow, as I've said before, risk assets are going to continue to be pushed up. I think September, we'll have to see what type of volatility we get. Maybe that will be triggered by this court ruling by tariffs, but I don't think it will be. Let's speak about the overall market, by the way. I think we're going to get a 50 basis point cut in September. And the reason why I think we're going to get a 50 basis point cut in September is because we have a big jobs number coming out, non-farm payrolls, and there's going to be a massive reduction. And I'm thinking 500 to 600,000 jobs are going to disappear because we know that the Bureau of Labor Statistics, well, I believe that they were cooking the numbers to make them look better for Biden. And they've already done one revision. I think there's another massive one coming out. I think that's going to force the Fed to cut 50 basis points. That's going to surprise the market because the market's only expecting 25. And then the market, I think that'll add fuel to the fire too. Also, the timing will be good because, as I said before, with the summer doldrums, the end of the summer with Labor Day, we're going to see volumes pick up in the market additionally. So I see that binary event coming up in September. Shifting gears to EOSE specifically, they've got a lot of conferences planned, right? They have that big one where they're going to be very close, within shouting distance of Tesla's tent or booth. I decided this week that it was time for me, okay? I almost doubled my position. I'm at 26% now. That means 20%, 26% of all my risk assets, okay, are in EOSE. That's, and I did this before last year around the same time and, did very well in the fall. If you look at this chart, look, it's going to continue to bang its head against 736, but I don't think we're coming all the way back down. I think that may have been our last shot to buy this thing below 5 if the overall market doesn't, take a big correction, right? I don't see that happening that is going to lead to a longer downturn. Anything, dips are still being bought by retail. Hedge funds are still neutral, not long. They're still fighting this up market, and EOSE has a massive short position on it. So I am very, I hate to say confident. The data is leading me to believe, or led me to believe this week that I don't know, maybe I got in a couple days early, right? But what I do know is at some point, I think there's a chance that something out of one of these conferences or one of their speeches is going to move EOSE and move the stock higher. So these are binary events, and because of that, what I did is I added 2027 $5.50 calls, and then and that was 10% of my total. Then I added also October 9s for a lotto play, and that's based on the events, possible binary events that could be catalysts coming on September for EOSE. Now, what could blow it apart? Well, the first thing that could blow it apart is the overall market is weak. Okay, and I'm talking about weak, not a couple days of down volatility. So that could blow it apart. I think also we could get to those and nothing could be said, and yeah, I think the stock could drift down. I think there is anticipation that something could happen. And certainly Nathan's been talking like that. But I look at EOSE and I put this in my Discord and I commented, last year at this time, I made the comment, I think it was September, I said, hey, I believe the DOE loan is done. I think even Mr. Reyes had said the same thing. And then everyone was losing their mind, in October and part of November, and it was done. Okay. I'm saying now that I see the same type of setup of a binary event that I think has a high probability of producing a positive catalyst. And if it does that, I see that EOSE is set up to this one, I don't know, over $10. And then I think through the end of the year, $15. I believe that more, and if this happens, excuse me for mumbling, if this happens as I think it will, yeah, that's why I think EOSE is becoming more and more to me, looking like it could be a unicorn, a legit unicorn. What does that mean? It means that's going to have significantly outsized returns for a long period of time, years. Okay? Is it guaranteed? Come on. No. But I don't know of any other companies. I have one other, PCT. But EOSE right now, I think, and people got to do what they are going to do. But I see the potential in it versus the risk, and that's why I made my decision. Looking at NFX, NFX is just sad. I don't know how NFX, what the response will be on the warrant, the closing, how much they actually were able to convert. Everyone's pretty clear. Where I stand on it. I think certainly them selling their warrants and not converting all of them is not a good look. They're not putting their money where their mouth is. But there is the potential, as always, that they are able to get this contract. And I have both. I have shorter term puts, and then I have leaps, longer term calls on it, which I've owned. I mean, they're 34 calls. They're worthless, right? But they're leaps, just in case. But I not encouraged, and there's no way that anybody's going to convince me that what they just did was not intentionally just to try to goose the stock up. And really who it's benefited so far is the management, because they've sold. So good for them. My other position in Bed Bath & Beyond, I guess that's their name now, because they changed their symbol back to BBY from BYON. I remain short that. I think it's going to $5 by Christmas. And yeah, Carnival Cruise Lines I own. I've already scaled. If I don't get a stick save on Tuesday, I'll be out of it. General Motors, I am also in, and I think some of the members got a scale. I took the day off, so General Motors looks fine. I'm also in silver, breaking out. I will remain in silver and continue. I will remain in silver. Nice breakout. Might get a little bit of retrace, and I'll look to roll because I only own Octobers. Looking for Monday and Tuesday. I don't really know what the market's going to do with this whole tariff battle and all this. If the market decides that it wants a reason to sell off, it will use that as the reason. If it doesn't sell off, and that's because the market knows that the tariffs are going to stay in place. Okay. I am at 75%, I think, of exposure. That is 26% in EOSE, and I've got about 39, I think, in Ethereum and BMNR. So I'm the most heavily positioned I've been since right in the middle of COVID. But I think once we get through this first couple days and the market can get out of its system that September is a volatile month, and figure out whether they want to make that actually happen or not. Ultimately, the market, I think, is going to continue to go higher. I think it will continue to go higher through the end of the year, and not without bouts of volatility. And I do believe that we'll see Ethereum in no short time above 5,000, and ultimately end the year above 10,000. There's just too much demand for the product right now. So I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you in the room on Tuesday.
They ain't got no muscle, no hustle, no backbone. I stand alone, not tripping. Just saying, I'm different. Ain't hanging on to the coattails of the next man. Passport in my left hand, thinking that you are next. Heck, oh, you ain't holding your breath, man, cause I'm out here, I'm hungry. I don't play around, trust me. Ain't had as much drive since my Honda Civic got rusty, and my girl said that she loved me. It's funny, just thinking back, study hard for that 9 to 5, like I thought it actually be good, but that it was dreaming, still dreaming. Spotlight on me like Willie Beeman.